Hi, I'm Pete Langman and I'd like to introduce you to my novel Killing Beauties, which is a work of historical fiction about female spies in the interregnum, the period just after the execution of Charles I. Now, when I was first introduced to my heroines, Susan Hyde and Diana Jennings, both of whom were real people, what fascinated me was the stuff that they got up to and the stuff that they were getting away with and the fact that they were actually spies. Susan was the postmistress of the Sealed Knot, which is a royalist secret society devoted to restoring Charles II to the throne. And she obviously was delivering letters and she was bankrolling the court in exile. She would deliver letters like these. These are the kind of things that would happen. And the people who were trying to catch her would be trying to catch the letters, they'd be opening them, they'd be transcribing them, they'd be folding them, sticking them back together again and sending them on their way. All of this is great fun to write about as well. One of the great things about Susan is that we only know a certain amount about her, so there's lots of room to fill in the gaps, which is always fun, and that's of course what fiction's all about. I'm a literary historian by training, and one of the things that is really interesting about what I do is that you find fascinating little things in archives that are completely left field. This is a letter from the 1650s that I found in an archive in Wiltshire, reading letter after letter after letter, and suddenly I come across this thing which talks about women bleaching their hair. You won't be able to see it very well, but I'll just take you through it anyway. He says here, "The men are generally mighty jealous and the women proud, one part of which I forgive them. They are so fond of fair hair that those that have it not of their own dye it so with lye made of the ashes of an ash and a local moss that groweth here." So what they're doing is they're mixing up lye, which is you boil up ashes. Well, there are two ways of making lye. One is that you boil up ashes, and the other way is a thing called chamber lye, which is the contents of a chamber pot. So they're mixing up this concoction to dye their hair. And he goes on to say, "Often we see black bottoms with yellow tops of hair. The women have no regard for modesty." So not only is he talking about these women bleaching their hair, but he's talking about the fact that you can still see the roots because they're not doing it particularly well. Now, this is something that people actually did, and this happens in one of the little episodes in my book where two of the characters, Molly, who's a third woman who's inculcated into the spying ring, and Diana, decide that they have to change their appearance, so they dye her hair. Of course, they can't get hold of ashes, so they have to use chamber lye, which of course is particularly unpleasant and nasty. So that's just one example of the kind of thing that I'll use from the archives and from historical records to actually make the fiction more, not believable, but just actually more real. So a lot of the stuff in this book is absolutely true, and an awful lot of it I made up. You'll have to try and decide for yourself which is which, and I hope you enjoy the process. Thank you very much.